What's going on YouTube? Do you get fuzzy edges and terrible cuts on your miter saw? Let me show you one way that we could potentially fix that. My name's Andy, this is Cedar River Woodworking, and welcome to the shop. Ew, you see that fuzzy cut right there? Yeah, that is from one of the things that we have an issue with our saw. We are in the middle of our improvements of our shop tools here on Cedar River Woodworking. So this is one of the ones that we are going to do to our miter saw. First off, I want to thank all of the members of the channel. You are being a big help. Our community is really growing, and we are looking to continue to grow from there. Now, you don't need to be a member, but if you are, I really appreciate it. And if you don't want to be a member, please consider subscribing if you like content like this for DIY saws and small woodworking ideas. So let's jump over to our miter saw and I will show you exactly what we're doing to fix this fuzziness on our cuts. All right, so we have our miter saw out here on the bench. What we're trying to do today is replace this throat plate. Now these things are all right. They keep your piece supported, but if you've ever had problems with fuzzy edges or debris getting caught down in here, the zero clearance throat plate is going to be what is going to help you in those situations. So I have a Hercules saw here. Yours may be different, but it's the same process through all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get this off of here. I can use a flathead, or I have some Torx that I can use, and then we're gonna show you exactly what we need to do for this. All right, so now that we have all of the screws out of here, I'm gonna keep those in a safe place, and this throat plate is just gonna pull out, as you can see here. There is all kinds of debris down inside of here, so we're gonna clean a lot of that out of here as well. And I'm actually gonna use a vacuum to clean up most of it. Then we have a nice clean area, and our new throat plate will fit down there more cleanly. With this throat plate out, we are going to need to take some dimensions of it. Now this is, like I said, a Hercules saw. You may have a different throat plate, different sizing, things like that. Take your measurements off of the throat plate that comes out of your saw. So this is just under 3 inches wide and almost 20 inches long. And you're gonna need to know the thickness as well. It is just under 3/8 of an inch. Now, when you're measuring this, I find it easiest to start at a 1 inch increment and then count from there, whatever your fraction is, instead of going at the very end of the tape. Because if it's under 1 inch long, the end of the tape can kind of block that a little bit. So I have this scrap piece of cherry hardwood that I'm gonna put in here. Any hardwood would work. You can use something that's highly figured if you're looking for beauty. You can even use pine if you have that laying around. Just something that will work for that. I'm going to have to thin this down because this is about 1 inch thick. I do have a planer that I will be sending it through to thin it out. You can hand plane this. If you have a bandsaw, you can also resaw it to the correct thickness. Just use what you have available to you so that you can get this thinned out where you need. So I'm gonna thin this out and I'll be right back. All right, so we have this thinned out to what we need for this piece of cherry. My secret weapon is gonna be this. This is a flush trim bit. This is a massive one, 1/2 inch shank. I'm gonna put it in my router table, but if you only have a handheld one, you can also use a smaller 1/4 inch flush trim bit, and these will work just about the same way. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take some tape here. This is double-sided tape, and I'm going to just apply it to this insert. Now there is more that we need to do than just flush trim this, so make sure that you stick around and finish the entire process with me. Also, if this is a project that you're liking, we're doing some more tune-up videos just like these, so please consider subscribing. So I've got this here, double-sided tape. This is some carpet tape. I'll link it in the video description below. All I'm going to do is just apply it to my piece of cherry. All right, got that stuck to it. We're not going to go anywhere. So let's go over to the router table and get this thing trimmed up. Now we can trim this a lot closer so you're not taking as much meat off, especially if you have a trim router with one of these smaller bits. You're going to want to make sure that this is as close as possible without anything else. You can do that with a jigsaw, or I could have at a table saw ripped this down to about 3 inches so we had a lot closer clearances here. Alrighty, so here we are over at the router table. This is a cast iron extension that goes onto the end of my table saw. It's made by Bench Dog. I'm not even sure if they make them anymore. If I can find it, I will also link that, you know, just like everything else. But so we just got this tightened down here and applied. Now we're gonna lower this down so that the blade is going to be riding on the edge of this plastic here. So we need to keep lowering it down. Now when you're doing this, you're gonna have to make sure that you have proper router etiquette, I guess would be the best way to say it. Now the bit is going to spin counterclockwise for me, so I'm going to make sure that I'm feeding against the direction that it's cutting. So I'm going to be feeding from my right to my left because the blade is going to be spinning this direction. If you feed it with the direction of travel, that blade is going to want to catch it and pull it through. You want to have full control of it, and I'm going to be using paddles as well so I can save my fingers. So let's get this down here just a little bit more. And that looks like it will be okay there. And I'm gonna lock it in position. Then we're just gonna go ahead and start this cut. All right, now that it's all wound down, you can see that this now matches exactly what this throat plate looks like. So now we are back at the bench. We have our template all made up. Now we just need to make sure that we can get some screws in here. One thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, this is just an old drill bit from a countersink. I'm gonna take it and I'm going to line up the center on these holes from this original plate. I'm just gonna make a few marks in here, in each hole, so that I know what I can do for my next step. So after we have those marks, I'm just gonna take a putty knife, slide it in between these guys, and pry them apart. Get that carpet tape out of there. And this can just show you just how strong this carpet tape is. So I use it for a lot of my template making. And it works really, really well. We're just gonna toss this out of the way. So here we are with our marks on our board here. I'm going to use a 5/8 Forstner bit. And I'm just going to drill down into each one of these. And what this is going to do is going to give enough clearance so that our bolts can sit down inside of there. All right, then finally what we're going to have to do is drill a hole completely through it so that our screws will pass through so that we can secure this back to the saw. I'm just gonna use that same countersink bit that I used earlier. Then we're just going to put it into our saw and see how everything lines up. Now this should fit flat across the top here. You don't want it to be proud of the surface, because at that point in time it'll cause your boards to want to kind of wiggle through here. So yeah, pretty darn good there. Now one of the tricks that I will give you on this is don't tighten your first screws right away. Leave stuff loose so we can have a little bit of wiggle room. I did oversize my holes just a tiny bit so that there was some wiggle room. The factory one does have slots in it, but those holes aren't going to move around, so you don't need to worry about wood movement or anything. And once you have all of these screws started, then you can tighten them all down. All right, now that we have all of our bolts tightened down, we are going to have one last step to do this, and that is to cut the kerf inside of this zero clearance saw. This is the kerf that is going to set up where you're not going to have any of the fuzziness on the ends of your cuts, or it's going to help support your boards much better than before. So we're going to go ahead and plug this back in, and very slowly we're going to go through the entire range of this saw. So this one is a slider, so I'm going to start at the back and I'm going to start at the front and go to the back. And I'm not going to cut all the way through in one pass. I'm just going to take tiny little cuts all the way through so that I know that we're not binding anything up, and we're going to get the cleanest cut possible on this. Now, just like that, we have our zero clearance made, and this is going to make a world of difference on the cut quality of our machine. Now, if this is something that you like I said, we will have many videos like this one, how to use saws and how to improve your DIY stuff so that we can get better cuts and better quality out of all of our work. Anyways, if you made it this far, let me know what type of wood you're going to use for the type of insert that you have for your saw. Anyways, for now, my name has been Andy. This has been Cedar River Woodworking, and we'll see you in the next video.